Okay. Elizabeth, is Jim with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hello, Jim.
How's it going?
Good. Does anyone have any comments?
So I just have a question. So obviously these forms or whatever information is required needs to be uploaded digitally.
Mhm.
What if somebody doesn't have the ability to upload documents digitally? Can they bring them to the office and have them scanned in? If they want to use the system, but just don't have the technology available to them, is there any way around the paying the fee?
I mean, obviously, yes, we could definitely provide a service with regards to providing scanning of documents, but I would have to say that if there's a larger scale project that involves some type of registered professional, they would be obviously getting those files through PDF medium. But to say for a small porch or a deck where they only have a drawing that they may have done themselves, we obviously can. And for those one-time, hopefully, aspects, we would facilitate that. But the goal obviously would be from one interval to the next time that they actually do provide the documents accordingly through the cloud permit process.
Yeah, I would expect professionals to be able to provide that, but I'm just thinking of somebody who's building a porch or like you said, or a deck off their backyard. And they're like, geez, I mean, it's pretty easy. I can use my cell phone to make PDFs, but not everybody is savvy. I just want to go, I don't want to see those people be penalized. As long as there's an option, they still have to do legwork. They still have to get the paperwork, but if they can bring it in and have it scanned.
Right. We don't want to specifically say it's a one-time offer, but we'll work with the public with regards to that. We understand there's obviously an age gap as well. There's going to be certain individuals who might not have the knowledge base to do it, and we'll work with them on an individual basis as needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Next on the agenda are the payments to Foyt Albert for the bridge design work. Dave, you want to give us kind of a status sheet, not a sheet, but a status on it, and
yeah, so this is all in the Bridge New York grant. So when we pay the bill, then it gets submitted to the state and then we get reimbursed through the grant. But as far as the status on it, yeah, a ton of stuff going on with that. Well, Church Street, I think, as you know, we had a lot of property issues we're working on with right-of-way changes. We met with NYSEG last week to go over the wires on Church Street. I don't know if you've ever been by there, but it's going to be one heck of a job. All the power from Wales gets fed right over Church Street. So it's pretty complicated. But again, I think, we're doing that next year, but because we have to start preparing for this, we're already rolling with that. East Fillmore is going really good. I'd say probably 80% of the new road has been built, the new 2-lane road, the reconfigured road. We discovered a leaking water line about a month ago that had been existing, and we've been at a standstill. I believe the village is this week going to try again to rectify that. So we're just kind of stuck right now until they can get the water line to stop leaking. But besides that, it's going really well.
good. And I mean, the actual bridge culvert installation is not going to be until like August.
Yes, that's
right?
correct. Yeah. So
September, somewhere in there.
I'm hoping I'm supposed to sign the demolition permit tomorrow. It might get delayed in DC, but in the next few weeks, we should get that back. And then we'll start demolishing the East Fillmore Bridge. As soon as that water line gets fixed, I would say we'll be ready for the contractor by May, maybe the latest. And then it'll just be a hole in the ground with a brand new road. And then I've been assured by the village that they'll get their water line moved by July. So when the contractor comes in there in August, it's just place and rebuild and pave over the final pavement. So it's going good.
Good.
Okay.
Were you going to try and there was some discussion at some point about the field stones that the base of the bridge is?
Yeah, when we do the demolition, there's the existing rocks that the Brotherford Bridge was built out of. We're going to try to see if we can salvage them and maybe do some kind of posts. We're going to attempt. I mean,
Nice.
it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's enough there. I guess we're going to see what we get when we demolish, whether any of them are good or if there's enough to. We're definitely going to use them for some, for the
Yeah.
nostalgia of it.
I think that's great.
I'm just not sure yet.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
promise it'll be something.
There you
I
go.
just don't want to promise, and then we
You,
only
want,
got.
you promise it'll be something, but you don't want to promise.
Yeah, what if there's only a little wagon worth of rocks that's any good? So, but no, that's the intent. And everything's going good there. Residents have actually been really cooperative. I think they're actually enjoying it now. Now they can totally see what the road's going to look like now.
Yeah.
So.
I think that, I'm sorry,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
I was just a question on the Church Street bridge. How is the property issues that you're experiencing coming? What's the status of that?
Well, it's working on the design to mitigate some of their concerns. The original amount that we had to take on the northeast corner would have been a lot more, but they've whittled that down. So then from my understanding, and Martha, you might know better than me, I believe they have to hire an agent that has to negotiate with the residents that we're not actually allowed to. Am I wrong on that? No, you don't know, or you do know? Yeah, so that's handled by the engineering company, but it's just part of the process. That's all I know.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a lot, Jim. In fact, the one whole corner is village property. So the east side, one owner owns both sides of the creek. So really, we just have two residents. It's out of the four corners. It's only two residents, and they've been very good and cooperative. So it's just a matter of getting it done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was right along the lines of what I was going to ask, so I won't.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I do see demolishing that in early spring, just like we did now. I think it's going to come down to a similar project when it gets to that, but we'll notify everybody well ahead of that. So
Great.
I just say that any communication that we send out from here on in, let's just make sure we have code red, and we'll say that we can do updates through that system as well.
yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
We already had everybody in here, last month or something. So I think we're well ahead of the curve and shouldn't have the same.
Sure. There's going to be a
concerns
lot of great uses for the code red.
about-
With highway, it's constant. So if we had a road closed over the weekend, I would have called, but thankfully we did okay. So,
Just waiting for a road to be.
but
closed.
I expected to call you to say, hey, Luther's plugged or something, but we did pretty good.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a request for wait a minute, I have the right one here. Oh, yeah, Quaker Road.
Rezone.
This is a request to change what we have in front of us is a response from the planning board upon reviewing 359 Quaker. The planning board recommended that the town board consider adding zoning use for multifamily dwellings to either C1 or C2. The ad hoc code review committee got together and we were really not in favor of adding that to commercial zones. Frankly, because most of the issues that we have with residences next to commercial properties is because the commercial property is doing what commercial properties do. And, people out on their back porch grilling a hot dog, they particularly like that. So I don't know if anybody has anything to offer on that or which way they think that we should go. Whether we should return this to the planning board or whether were you going to say something, Jim?
Well, the original request, if I'm not mistaken, from the petitioner was for a change of zoning, correct? Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes. The owner requested to change it from a C3, commercial C3 to a residential to allow multifamily use because there's no multifamily use in any of the commercial districts. I'm sure the zoning board, the planning board didn't think that was the best idea, let's just say. So I'm going to say, reading what they sent us there, is that they felt that adding multifamily dwellings to C1 or C2 was the best answer.
I'm not sure if I look to hear from everyone else. I'm not sure if I agree with that. As you know, that's been most of our problems with zoning or commercial and residential being next to each other, and most of our problems have come from that. I almost have to say that we should send it back to them for maybe to relook at it. Yeah, I'd like to hear from the rest of you guys, see what you think.
Yeah, I think I can summarize my thoughts on this, which I think is how the ad hoc code committee thought. But the zones are in place based on the regional comprehensive plan that we use as our guide. And it isn't clearly a commercial area of the town within a commercial area of the village. And so it does fit that it's commercial use. So that's related to the requested change to an R3. And the changes that the planning board has submitted for changing our C2 or C3 zones around the town. We took a look at that based on, again, the regional comprehensive plan and what was best for the entire town, and decided at that point that the commercial zones should be limited without the type of multi-dwelling apartment buildings that are being requested. And so the ad hoc committee felt that because we based that on the regional comprehensive plan as our guide and the town in the area, that we didn't want to change that for this one particular use. And so it was better to keep the zones as we had decided before, when we were looking holistically at the entire town, including that neighborhood. So
I concur with everything you just said, Luke. That's exactly my interpretation of what we had with the. And by the way, I do want to mention that the ad hoc code committee consists of 2 members of the planning board, 2 members of the zoning board, 2 members from the town board, our town clerk, and our code enforcement officer. So just for the, but I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say and what your thoughts are.
I once again, I'll echo Luke. It's about a holistic view. You know, apartment building sounds swell, but this is one of our areas for commercial use, and we don't have that many areas for commercial use. So that's what belongs there. And if they want to go for a variance with the ZBA, that's their right. But I don't think we change it just willy-nilly, especially if we're going to be hopefully doing a new comprehensive plan in the near future, and we get a chance to take a look at all these things and view it from the 5,000 foot view rather than on a case-by-case basis. Otherwise, you're just always going to be chasing your tail on these things and creating problems you don't even expect. So I agree.
Yeah, I don't have anything new to add, but I agree with the sentiments, and I certainly agree with the time and the effort that was put into the zoning, the number of qualified people from the different areas that went into it, the respect for the comprehensive plan, and the idea that I think everyone sort of campaigns on, that we want some growth, but we want to keep it as rural and family friendly as possible. And I think that's the way it's going, and it shouldn't be changed on a one-off, because certainly could open the door to others.
Exactly. To change it just for this property.
Exactly what Jim just said, exactly setting the precedent for future issues. I think we really need to look at that. I agree.
I didn't catch that.
he agrees. He agrees.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? You want to
Do we?
send it back to the planning board and get another opinion?
Yeah.
I mean, we
To
can.
what end? I mean, what would the planning board do with another pass at it?
Well, the petitioner in his request was to change it, the rezoning from a C3 to an R3. I might suggest that we just send it back to the planning board, have them address that request, and then bring it back to us, and we'll take it from there.
That's good.
Sound good? Sound good, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 choices. We either do that or deny it.
Or nothing, which we can just let it.
But I would like to send it back. If
Yeah.
that's in favor of that, I think it's a good idea.
I think we should respond to what the petitioner asked and.
I have a question that maybe we can't answer right now. If it was, if the board at some point decided to rezone any area at all, would that call for a public hearing first? Okay. So we're going to send it back to the planning board, see what they have to say, and then bring it back here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to give the planning board the opportunity to give grounds on the decision to zone or not, to rezone or not rezone
Yeah.
to an R3, that then we can make our decision based off.
Yeah. All right. So we'll add that to the meeting. Oh, it's on there. Oh, we won't add that to the meeting. Next on the agenda is an application for a temporary use permit. This is at Knox Park. It's for a cancer run. Is there anyone here? Oh, would you step up to the mic and tell us a little bit about it?
All right.
Give us your
Okay.
name and address.
So my name is Ashley Ferguson. I live in Orchard Park, New York at 41 Briar Hill Road. And this event is organized entirely by Orchard Park High School students. So it's pretty great. We've gotten all together. We've been working together for a couple months now, or many months now, actually. And finally, it's coming together. It's on May 21st, 2023 at Knox Farm in the East Aurora soccer fields. And so it's a 5K as well as a 1 mile walk. So there's 2 separate courses for that. The 5K is kind of a cross country course and the 1 mile walk is a paved course. And the 5K goes throughout the East Aurora soccer field and goes through Knox Farm, and the 1 mile walk is entirely through Knox Farm. Let's see, we will have a food truck that's coming as well as food that's provided by our sponsors. And we will have live music. We're having actually a student band come and play. So that's really exciting. And we have a great group of volunteers who will be there to help the day of the event. I think that's kind of the general summary. If anyone has any questions about that.
Okay.
I have just a quick one. So it's Orchard Park High School students and you're coming out to the town of Aurora. Would you consider that evidence that the town of Aurora is superior to the town of Orchard Park?
I mean, I must say, working with Knox Farm was a pleasure. They were very eager in helping us. And it was a little bit difficult to work in Orchard Park with Chestnut Ridge, but I don't know. Easter is pretty beautiful.
Thank you very much.
I think you got your answers.
So is this a parking, something that Dave has to get involved with for parking? Dave, are you?
Yeah, Jim, Ashley has contacted me. I didn't know it was Orchard Park schools. It's not East Aurora schools. Okay. But yeah, this isn't a big issue for us.
Okay.
And I didn't look and see, has the insurance issue been addressed?
Yeah.
It's in there.
The insurance is.
Chris says yes.
But we do need
Yes.
indemnification.
Yeah, we have submitted the certificate of insurance, but the indemnification agreement is a bit of an issue. We're working on that now, working on it for a few months. The American Cancer Society has been taking a little while. That's why it's been kind of delayed and why I wasn't able to get on the agenda for the town board meeting. But I do actually have a question. Does the indemnification agreement have to be notarized in Erie County specifically?
No.
Okay, because I know someone said that was an issue. I know that American Cancer Society, that was one of the issues, and that's why they're delayed again. So I can tell them that, and then hopefully I'll have that agreement soon and notarized.
So
Also,
Chuck,
they do have,
contingent.
Online.
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Jim.
I just
Say it was an
said you
issue.
have to make the motion contingent, that's all.
Yeah. We can do that.
The notary service can be done online now as well, digitally. So you don't have to have a physical presence, even if you want a New York notary.
Okay. Oh, wait. Thank you for letting me know.
And Dave, do you have anything else you want to add?
So is it just Orchard Park High School students, is it?
I mean, we're involving schools from kind of all over the area, but it started with Orchard
Okay,
Park.
no, it's fine. I'm just wondering who is attending it. Is it,
We've been advertising in both Orchard Park and East
and
Aurora.
it's totally 100% for the charity of their, okay, that's all I was curious.
Yes, you anticipate 300
I think it might be a little bit less. I think I'm
Yeah.
expecting, so I have no idea
Sure,
how many originally,
we
but
understand.
yeah. We're hoping it'll be an annual event. So I'm starting it off, but I have people who'll be doing it next year. I'm hoping to make it
Gotcha.
annual. So
Okay, thanks. Chris, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think it's gonna be a good event. It's the same course that the school run on, so. We should do different things we've done in the past.
Yeah, have you had contact with the East Aurora schools? Do you need any contact information or?
I mean, if you have someone from East Aurora High School just to advertise within their school, that would be great. I don't know if you have, like a principal or a student government. Sometimes the student government advisors are the
Yep.
best because I can reach through students that way.
Yeah, I can give you some email addresses.
I would really
We have a
appreciate
few
that.
students on one of our committees and they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
So if you just if you have a paper, I'll write them down.
Don't you have any business cards, Luke?
For
Not yet.
students of East Aurora,
They're
No,
all-
no, for yourself.
for myself, yeah, no.
Okay, well, we will put that on the agenda. With the stipulation to get the indemnification.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
And I can borrow.
Thank you.
All right, next,
Sorry.
next we have the private road water fees. This is can be a little bit confusing. Has everybody had time to understand this and get a grasp of what is being said, or maybe I'll just hit the highlights if I could. So you'll see on page 2 where it says minimum total, that is the culmination of each private road water line of the operation and administrations and the quarterly infrastructure, the repair and maintenance fee of $25 each quarter, and then the quarterly water billing for each road, each private road, water district. So that's all put together, and then on your first page there, that's where each one of those costs are under the minimum total. As we were going through this, one of the ideas that popped up, and it was just an idea, was that at some point, these roads may incur some considerable expense. As an example, I was talking to Dave a little bit earlier. In 2015, we had a main line freeze on Woodland, right? On Woodland. And naturally, obviously freezing, it was bitter cold that winter, and the frost was about 1.5 feet deep, and it was not easy to dig. And we had to get a contractor, and long story short, it was almost $8,000 to fix that in 2015. So, you can extrapolate from that what it would be in 2023. If that happened with a water line where there was 6 residents, 7 residents, it would be pretty expensive. They would be responsible for that fee. So that's where the idea of what if we put it all together, made one water district where everybody shared the fees, and heaven forbid when something happens, they get to spread the cost out over a few more people because it's all one district. I can see both sides of it. I'm anxious to hear all sides of it. It's granted, it's not fair to, let's just say Mitchell Road, unless something happens on Mitchell Road, then it would be very fair. And I also just want to mention too, that South Herrick, which is the most expensive, and the reason that that's most expensive is and Jim, correct me if I have this wrong, because Jim is like the water wizard, is because that's a 4-inch line and it has fire hydrants. I'm going to say the other.
No, that is correct. South Herrick is on the border of Alma and East Aurora, and that is the only private road that does have a 4-inch water main with fire hydrants. And with Erie County water, there is a minimum gallonage that you have to pay for whether you use it or not. And with a 4-inch water main, and I'm not too sure Martha if I could tell us the gallonage you have to pay for. It's quite extensive compared to the other private roads that only probably have a 2-inch or 3-inch line going from their meter. So I just, as long as I have the floor, I mean, you know, in transparency, I live on a private road. My take on it, as far as the last 12 or 15 years that I've been doing water, is I think it's only fair for the people to pay their way. I don't think it's fair for someone, say from Mitchell Road, that has to pay for Hickory Road repairs. It's very hard, and I've been through this as a supervisor to explain to a resident when they come in that they're paying for somebody else. So in my opinion, and I have no vote on this, I would recuse myself from voting. I think it's the fair way to do it is you pay what happens to your road. Each road would be billed a $25 quarter fee that would go into fund balance to cover costs attributed to their own road. And then whatever water bill the Erie County Water Authority bills us is what we would bill them. And it's very easy to explain to the customer that you're only paying what you're getting. On the other hand, it's extremely easier for Kathleen and the office to do it the way Chuck had just mentioned, but I'm not too sure that's the fair way. And that's just my opinion, and I'll give the floor to everyone else and see what they say.
Sure. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, I'll echo what Jim said. I think, without the consent of the center folks, the Mitchell folks, the Hickory folks, I think it'd be tough to ask them to sort of pick up the tab on a quarterly basis. I completely understand the logic of spreading the problem if a water main should freeze, but I have to assume there's advantages of living on a private road, or else why wouldn't people do it if there's some sort of benefit? This is potentially one of the drawbacks of living on a private road, right? It's sort of it's got its pluses and minuses. One of the minuses is you don't share the burden quite as much, but I mean, let the buyer beware kind of situation, not to be heartless about it, but that's how it goes. You got to go into these things with your eyes open and realize that there's potential pitfalls to not being part of the larger water system. My 2 cents.
Are there any outstanding debts in any of these districts?
Yes.
I gotta believe.
They're all paid off.
Yes, there is. Just in infrastructure. So we're talking about water billing right now, I believe, right, Martha?
Yes.
Yes, we're talking about not the infrastructure charges, which we all get. We're talking about the water billing and a service fee that the town would put on each road. It would go in their own little separate bank account, let's just say, so that if there was a water main break, Dave had to come in and fix it. Or each day Dave has to be trained to do water, plus he has to test the water.
But
This is involved. So that's where that $25 a quarter would go.
But there are debts for infrastructure in the districts.
It's separate.
No. Martha says no.
I mean, when the town had actual water.
So I mean, right now, if you were to consolidate them, what would happen to the debts of the specific districts?
From putting the water line in, all of those expenses have been paid out, or
right.
is there still?
Because if the town of Aurora and the village of East Aurora were to consolidate, of course, not saying that at all, just saying hypothetically, then the debts would go to the new consolidated entity. I imagine that's the same principle with water districts, right? So we would not want to be in a situation where one had a debt district, and then that debt goes to the consolidated district to all of the members of the consolidated district.
No. So there were 25 water districts before we before we converted to Erie County Water. And some of those districts, okay, I'll take Hickory Lane, which is in District 16. There's still debt in that district, no matter what our water bill is, and everything, that's separate. When they brought water through, everyone signed on to take a bond to get the water lines there. That'll go on until that bond is satisfied for those people in that district.
Yeah.
However, what we're talking about is completely separate from that.
Yes.
Totally separate, right, Jim?
Totally separate. This is
Yeah.
okay. So that's your infrastructure charge. Well, now we're talking about water billing. What the Erie County Water Authority is billing us for water. Okay, and that's one issue. The other issue is Erie County Water will not go on private property.
Right.
So the town of Aurora, in essence, is we're responsible to help the people on these private roads in case there's a problem. These people still have to pay their way. So that's why we're asking that $25 maintenance fee, let's just call it,
Mhm.
per quarter to go into a bank account. Just like,
Okay, so this proposal, I didn't understand then, is not a proposal to consolidate all of the remaining water districts.
no,
It's a proposal to charge a fee that's standard among all the water districts to create an account that could be used in the event of a water main break.
and it would be an individual account. Plus, we're talking about the water fees that Erie County charges, and they're different for they're different. The only different one is South Herrick. Everyone else pretty much is the same amount that the Erie County Water is billing us. South Herrick is more because it is a bare main because it supplies to fire hydrants. There are no fire hydrants on Mitchell Road. There's no fire hydrants on Hickory, Mary Jane Lane, Center Street. There's no fire hydrants up there, so they don't need to have to supply that fire flow. South Herrick has the fire hydrants, so they have a big main. Now to have that big main, Erie County Water Authority tariffs charge so much, or they're going to say, okay, you got to have, I don't know, 50,000 gallons a month. Whether you use it or not, we're billing you for 50,000 gallons a month. I'm just using those numbers because I don't know exactly off the top of my head. So South Herrick's going to pay more for water. They've got hydrants, they're paying for that service. It's a 4-inch line. We can't change that. But the maintenance fee is something that we want to establish so that if any one of those private roads has an issue, we can go in there and take from that fund balance and fix it. And everyone's paying their fair share. Does that make sense to everyone, or?
I guess so, yeah. So the water bills would remain the same as they are now. The water districts would remain as they are now. This is just the creation of a special fund that could be used throughout all the districts. That's different than I thought it was.
Not only that, but the water billing would be pay what you get, pay for what you get. Instead of taking all those private roads and saying, okay, everyone's going to pay the same. What I'm proposing, or what I would say is, if you live on South Herrick, then you pay whatever Erie County bills you. If you live on Hickory, you pay whatever Erie County bills you. If you live on Mitchell, you pay whatever Erie County bills you. I believe that's the fair way. Again, I live on a private road, so I'm doing my vote, but I have also talked to a lot of people over the years in water bills and try to explain to somebody that you're paying for somebody else is very hard.
Okay.
I could say, yeah, what would change then?
We have to establish.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're doing a great job, Phil.
I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah,
Listen,
maybe I'm a
water's-
little slow here, but yeah.
Waters is very, very, very complicated, and it took me many years to understand. So I understand, but I think you can help me. We don't have now that we converted to Erie County Water, we really don't have a policy for private roads. Is that correct, Martha?
Correct.
So what we're trying to establish is, okay, if now that we're through all this, we need to establish a policy of how are we going to build our private roads, okay? And we have 5 of them, 35 customers. How are we going to bill them? And you can bill them all the same, or you bill them for what they get. And in my opinion, we should bill them for what they get. Would it be easier, certainly for Kathleen to do it all the same? Yes. But again, when you start getting the calls and you start talking to people about why am I subsidizing South Herrick because I don't have fire hydrants and I'm paying their water bill, it's very hard to explain. So I'm just saying, in my opinion, everyone pay for what they get. And then
But that's how we do it now, right?
No,
Well,
No.
no, this is.
we've run into, that's why we ran into a problem. Go ahead, Chuck.
I just want to say something real quick to back up Jim. What he's talking about is the daily maintenance of tests and the standard tests the Department of Health has to be done year round all the time as it is. How it is done now, it's built into the water per gallon rate. So what I think that Chuck's trying to say is this is to pay for the highway maintenance that's ongoing every year and to budget a little bit more than that, if that's what the $25 per quarter is, to slowly build up a fund balance in case of an emergency. I think the only thing I understood, it looks like Jim doesn't want one bank account and you do, right? And
I don't.
so,
I'm not
but that's what
advocating-
he's talking about is it's not for.
I'm not advocating either. There was just an idea that was brought up.
And it's similar to the village residents here. When you look at your water bill, it's got an operating and repair line. So that's basically what Chuck's trying to propose. It's to cover the costs of maintaining the water license, the daily tests, and they're all mandated. So anyway, I just trying to clarify that.
And maybe this will help, is these quarter water charges come from operations and administration, which is the water director and testing and NICEAG and all of that stuff, and that comes to X. Actually, 2,802. And then there's the infrastructure charge from Erie County Water, what they charge us. And then there's a $25 repairs and maintenance fee that we just put on because someday something's going to break, and that's kind of a nominal fee. And then the quarterly water billing for the water that you use. And that's where the biggest discrepancy come into. That's where those fees come from.
So the only thing we're deciding today is whether to spread the pain of the water bills that South Herrick suffers as a result of having a 4-inch water line, or to have each district pay what it actually costs to provide water to that district.
Yes.
That's it. Everything else
But
is.
You have to
outside.
remember too, it's not a district. We don't have districts
Okay.
anymore. They were all dissolved. So we have, what is a water service area or something like that? That's right. So we don't have districts.
Yeah.
They're each their own individual private road, private line.
Unless we go with option B, which nobody's pushing option B. It's just we have an option B.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
And as far as repairing, if we went with option B, Chuck, if I think I understood this correctly, and there were a disaster in not a district, but on one of these private roads, we would treat them as a collective. Whereas we go with option A, we're going to treat each private road as an individual.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell, Joe. Yes.
Good summary.
So
Thank you.
there are no separate districts. So
Correct.
I guess right now they're all being charged different based on what?
Based on their master meter.
And that's not going to change.
It is, because right now they're being billed for their usage plus the $25 R&M. What's not being factored into most of them is the infrastructure fee that's on the Erie County Water Authority bill that we get. That's why South Herica was in such debt, is because the people were paying for their usage plus the R&M, and it wasn't, their usage wasn't covering the cost of the Erie County Water Authority bill, which in the other cases, most of them do. So every time we build South Herrick, I'm just going to throw these numbers out there. A quarter, we were getting billed $4,000 by the authority. We were only taking in $1,000.
And the proposal
So-
is to spread that out to the other districts?
No, the proposal now, if you look at option A, the minimum that you see there is going to be their minimum quarterly water bill. That's taking the town fees that we need to charge, the operation maintenance, which is Dave's department, then the R&M, which we've been charging all on $25. And then we're taking the Erie County fees that we get charged, the infrastructure and the minimum water use, and putting those all together and dividing it by the number of residents or customers per private line or per private road. And that's the minimums that we come up with. The bill that we get for South Herrick, if you go to the last page, it shows that's from the Erie County Water Authority tariff. It shows that quarterly for a 4-inch line, it's $1,159. So we have to spread that among those customers.
And we don't do that now.
Essentially, as
No,
Joe said.
we
though,
don't.
These are what the charges are. Do you feel we should bill them separately or put them all together as one? Essentially, that's.
So what we need to do is we need to pass that through to the residents to pay those bills.
Yes.
That I understand.
Yes.
Correct.
And the option is option A, we do it equally for everybody, or option B, we do it based on water.
Option A is
Yeah.
individual.
Option A is per
Is
meter.
per, yeah, per meter. Option B is
And option
spread out to
is
the towns.
separate together.
Okay.
So, but Jim is definitely for option A.
But he's not voting.
But he's not voting.
Yeah.
But he's giving his opinion.
That's just my opinion. Whatever you guys think, but I just, the only thing I just caution you on is, you're gonna have to explain that to everyone. So, I mean, it's up to the rest of the board. I have to recuse myself on this.
So the two questions I'm not claiming that I fully understand everything, because there's also that you said a $25 per resident per street that you're adding on quarterly that is you're considering adding on
It's
regardless of whether it's A or B.
It's already on
Regardless
there.
of whether it's A or B.
It's already on there. They've been paying it all along. It's
I
repair and
understand, but it's
maintenance.
brought up, so I didn't know if that was
Right.
something,
It's just part of the calculation to get to,
okay.
Part of that
The-
dollar.
right.
Jim,
so-
so
Yeah.
what we used to do back in the day is, if the Erie County, let's just make simple figures. If the Erie County Water Authority charges $1 a gallon, we would charge the customer $1, say, 5 a gallon. And that extra 5 cents would go into their fund balance to take care of infrastructure charge, repairs. We're not doing it now. We're just saying, okay, we're gonna charge the town because we've given up all our water to Erie County except for private roads, but they even pay. So,
Yeah, I think I get that, Jim. I just, when it was mentioned, I took it as a separate piece of legislation and not part of A and part of B as well. And I understand now that I don't think it is, correct?
Correct.
So then the next question is have we heard from outside of Jim, who's on Gypsy Lane, but have we heard from the residents in these not districts, but roads on Herrick and get an idea of what they think we should do rather than us making a decision for them?
I haven't heard from any.
I think that is a good question. It gets to the point, though, that, there's decisions that are made on one private road are made by the residents of that road. So they have control over that decision. I'm more comfortable with that, having that separate districts like Jim and Joe, because they control their fate, right? If they want to put in a 4-inch line
Sure.
and have fire hydrants, they put in a 4-inch line and have fire hydrants. the people in other districts do not have the choice of whether to install a 4-inch water line on another road. And so if we keep the bills separate, I think that's the better way to do it. Everyone is responsible for making those decisions and then dealing with those decisions. That being said, I also think that the $25 fund townwide, if that's something we can do with that, I think that's good to spread that out. And then we kind of have a good sort of balance here that you're responsible for your own decisions, but the upkeep can be spread out, which probably makes sense.
That's,
So
if that can be done without a whole bunch of paperwork, that's a good idea.
So what you're saying, Luke, is take bill, whatever the water bill is, pay your fair share. But as far as the maintenance fee, make it one account and it just wherever it happens, it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
The maintenance fund,
It's
right?
not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea at all.
You're not here, but that was Luke that said that. And you still think it's a good idea?
Oh, Luke said that? Oh, I thought Joe said that. I'm sorry.
You was unfolding a note for me, Jim, but that's okay.
No, but no, you know what? I think I'm just here thinking, I think it's a great idea. Make one, that could be one bank account, but as far as your water usage, that would make a little more sense. It'd be easier to explain to the consumer. That's all.
Sure.
I like that. idea. Even though you had it, Luke, I like that idea.
It took me a while to get there though. So
Water is very complicated. It really is.
Okay, we'll put that.
nothing like a town board meeting. We can talk water districts, is there?
Yeah. So I'm guessing we probably won't be able to move ahead with that today though, right? Because we'll need a different proposal,
No,
or we can amend the
You
proposal.
can make a motion
we can.
with a motion.
This is what we're charging. We need to
Yeah.
have, I'm going to be having them read the meters for the first quarter. So I need to bill them. So these figures here, this minimum usage
Yeah.
needs to be determined
Next couple of days.
tonight.
Okay.
As far as the $25, you can say in your motion that that's going to go into a general.
Okay. We
Fund.
can cover that. Okay.
Right.
As long as we can cover that with that, then
Yeah.
I think we
good.
can make that
Yeah.
motion.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Then I'd like to add actually two things to the work session. First of which is a out of district water customer late fee. And the other thing is a social media policy. We don't have to make a motion for that, I mean, for the work session, do we? No. So in regards to the out of district customers late fee, I don't think Jim got this. Which you didn't get, did you, Jim?
I didn't hear you, Chuck.
Okay. Well, this is a, well, I'll read it to you. Please consider adding a late fee schedule to be attached to our out-of-district water service customers' annual invoice, which is mailed in January and due the same date as the town and county tax bills. Currently, the town does not impose a late penalty for Wales, Alma, and Colden residents that receive the benefit from tapping into the water lines once owned by the town. However, a town resident who sees the same cost on their tax bill is charged a penalty starting on the first day past the due date. Town Attorney Bridget Maloney has reviewed the out-of-district water agreements currently in place and believes, based on the language, the board can impose late penalties like those on the town and county water bills. She has suggested a more concise wording for future agreements as well. So the penalty structure is listed as follows. You know, it's the same exact thing that's on our property tax bills. If you were a resident, this is what you would pay. Did you understand that, Jim?
Yep. And I agree with it. I agree that.
Okay.
It's only fair.
Anybody have any comments or thoughts? Then let's put that on the agenda. And then next would be the social media policy as sent from pretty much Luke and Joe, I'm going to say.
More Luke.
More Luke than Joe.
Yeah.
Blaming you.
Usual.
Would you like to start with some comments or?
Yeah, so I think that we've probably spoken about this enough to talk about some changes to what we have here, but take a step back. We don't have a social media policy. We already have three social media sites.
Highway, historian, emergency,
Oh, four. Rec.
rec, or
And a YouTube, which also that are out there without the sort of protections that we have via a social media policy. So I feel that we need one, and the exact specifics of that are kind of what we started with here today. So I did a lot of research, and most resources strongly recommend one unified site. So that's what's in this document. However, we've reviewed those different pages and feel like there's already upgoing highway rec, there's an up and going emergency management. And so at this point, it probably doesn't make sense to have that policy because the benefits are already behind us. We've already got several different websites. So the first thing I would recommend changing in there in this specific policy is to have the different websites with their own administrators. So the administrator for highway would be Dave again. We can have his lovely posts about, the weather and all that stuff. And then Dave would sign the document that he's reviewed the social media policy and understands that you can't, use profane language or whatever. Not that you're doing that, but just that we're covered then as a town for that. The point, Liz, yeah, that's I think each specific page we would need to then. And dog control, yeah. So each specific page, we would need to appoint administrators who are responsible, who take care of those pages, and then they would sign that they've reviewed the social media policy and abide by that. So this is different from employees posting from their own personal pages. This policy applies to officially sanctioned Town of Aurora pages. And the one change that we do need is we need to have a Town of Aurora page, which whether it's our emergency management page that we change into a town page, I do think there's an advantage of having one central resource that we could then repost. Dave posts something, we repost it to the town. Chris posts something, we repost it to the town, so that there is one record of all of the town posts.
Are you saying that our emergency resource page would be called Red page?
No.
Another.
Emergency notification page is already out there. I think we just make that the Town of Aurora.
yeah, there's a Facebook page. I don't know if you've stumbled upon it, Chuck, but there's a Facebook page called Town of Aurora Emergency Management. I didn't know about it until the big storm. So
Came out during COVID. Sue Freese, was the one who made it up. So we already have a bunch of people that are signed up. I think we just rename that as Town of Aurora page. Makes sense because most of the stuff that the Town of Aurora would be doing that's not the other departments is emergency notifications. And the stuff, and then that would be the one that we tied to Code Red, so that if we did send a message out, it would also go to that specific Facebook page. So,
Okay.
and also we do, as much as I don't really understand it, anyone under the age of 30 does not communicate on Facebook. It's for older people. So Instagram, if we can also include an Instagram page that we can start to build. Other towns have been doing it and posting a lot of stuff on there. It's the same content as Facebook. It's just in a little bit different way. And then we need to think, who's going to be the administrators, but I think it's pretty clear. Dave, we has Dave and Liz. Chris, I don't know if you're the only one that posts or want to be, but whoever in your department, then you post them as administrators. The Town of Aurora page, I don't know who has the access to that. You do.
Sue gave it to me during the blizzard for that emergency management page.
I think
So it's very helter skelter. I don't know who else has it.
Kathy may have access to it too.
I think you might be right. I think somebody from the village has access too. So that's the one that's going to do the most sorting out to figure out what we're going to do with that one.
Yeah. So
I think the town board should, and the village board should.
just say it again, Jim. What was that? You broke up.
I just think the town board should appoint somebody to administer it.
Yeah.
And the village board should appoint someone, whoever that should be, I certainly don't want to do it. But I mean, this is Joe, and you guys are into that. I'm not. But I think the village should do the same thing. And then as boards evolve, it should be in a yearly appointment or whatever. And you want to make someone responsible.
I I do think that eventually we may, if this communication picks up and it's something that's overbearing and we test it out, we may want to think about a stipend for someone to do it. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. For now, we just have the town supervisor do it and require a minimum certain number of posts per month, right?
The current-
Sorry, I didn't hear that. I heard something about the stipend.
So I think if we start with this policy, we can work through it. Same thing with the code red, just come up with any of those proposed changes. What I'll do as a first step is if we all agree that we want these separate pages out there, I think we do.
Yeah.
Then
I feel this.
I'll redraft, or we'll have, Bridget look over it as well. We'll redraft and take a look at it. I know Martha also spoke about the non-town related events. And through that section, that's something to think about. Do you want to have non-town related events like Music Fest that you would post to or not? That's something to think about that we would need to talk about. I don't know.
I don't think we want to make that an advertisement. Do you? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking out loud here.
Oh, I would think only as it relates to inconvenience. We don't want to advertise Music Fest, but
Right.
perhaps you want people to know that the roads are going to be closed. I don't know.
That's a whole
I
different
agree,
thing.
Joe.
And I'm also looking at how big this is going to get if we try to take every event and all of that. I think I don't want it to turn into like most websites out there, which don't get updated, but once every 8 months. It needs to be attended to.
And that's the advantage of the social media site, is that you just post as it comes up. You don't have to do any.
But it has to be, as I read this, it has to be approved by the administrators. Is that right, Luke?
I think the administrators, it's been a while since I drafted it, but I think administrators can post in this, and then anyone can ask for it to come down, or a certain number of people in case something.
Yeah, so it doesn't get sent to anyone, Chuck. Like if Dave has something to post and he's an administrator, he posts it.
Right.
So it's not going anywhere else. It's you if you're approved to post, you post.
The method is if Dave goes on a rant and says, those Coldenites and, dumping stuff and whatever, then how do we we need to have access to it to be able to bring that post down and have some method to do that.
No.
So.
Now, not to jump ahead, but I'm sorry. Did somebody else have something?
No, I was going to say, I think we need to have further discussions on this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bridget also pointed out the First Amendment issues around comments.
Yep.
And we're going to have to decide right from the get-go, do we allow comments or not? Because Bridget, there's a fine line between, we really can't take down anything except hate speech and something and then we're going to be tasked with making those decisions. So comments are a sticky wicket, although I'm sure on the highway, if people say, hey, nice job. Hey, when are you going to get my leaves? Hey, they use that as communication. So that's a tough situation.
The list that we have
used it for like 10 years. And once in a while you get a comment that's just kind of out there, but we just ignore it. But you're right. You can't delete it. You just got to let it roll.
But you can if you follow the rules. So the Association of Towns, we got a lot of the language that's in this from. So a good balance where you have your First Amendment right, but there are restrictions, like with all the amendments, even though we may not always think that, and that allow us to bring down comments if we want them. Of course, yes, the other approach is to have no comments. I don't know. I personally, I understand it's more difficult to be able to monitor those comments, but I think it is a good tool for residents to be able to give information back to us. So Chris, thanks for posting the swim standards. My child does this and this. Where do you think that person falls? And by the way, that wasn't a great chart. I don't know if you noticed it, but what level of swim you're at, that came out from the record.
Turns out I'm at a very low level.
The term doggy paddle was not on there, so I don't know where I placed, but
All right. So you're going to revise this?
So if we agree on that, what about comments? Think about it.
Think about it.
Yeah,
Who would be responsible for determining if a comment should be taken down? And also who would have the authority to respond to comments would be two of my questions.
You can look at there. I don't remember what we drafted in there, but yeah, I think it's administrators right now, but
All right, so let's kick it around.
kick it around and hopefully get it to a point next week or 2 weeks from now, 2 or 3, 2?
I think, could even
Yeah,
take
Two,
it
two,
up
right,
to-
yeah. Where we can,
I think regarding that, before when we were talking about this, it was at least 2 administrators had to agree to take anything down. Is what we had
Might
said
be
at one
to-
point in time.
I read this just today, so it's fresh. You had the supervisor and one council member, two council members, or the town attorney had some sort of sway, had to be partner with only two. It was a pretty logical
Yeah.
plan as I
I
read
think
it.
the supervisor can, the town attorney can, or two council members can, was the,
Okay.
so.
All right. All right, so you'll revise this and we'll
Kick it
discuss it
around.
again
Mhm.
shortly.
Right.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to our, unless anybody else has anything they want to add to the work session.
Oh.
Jim, you good?
We're good, thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the regular meeting. The first item on the regular meeting is a public hearing. This is on the local law regarding the zoning board of appeals for the sunset clause. I'll open this public hearing at 7:32. If anybody'd like to come up and address the board, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Give your name and address. Would anyone like to come up? Pardon me?
Background.
The background on the law? Sure. This local law amends a prior local law known as the Town of Aurora Code, adopted by the Town of Aurora on January 22nd, 1990, as amended and related to the administrative, legislative, and general legislative codes within the Town of Aurora. Any variance or special use permit granted by the zoning board of appeals by a court of competent jurisdiction pursuant to the provisions of this chapter shall become null, void, and no further force of effect unless the building permit, if required, is issued or the use granted commences within 365 days after the date of the decision of the zoning board of appeals or final court decision has been entered. Okay. Anyone like to address the board? Sure.
Hello, Grace Faget, 331 North Street, Village Board. This is something I was interested in because it seems like something we would want to do in the village also. So my understanding is if someone submits for a variance, it gets approved. After 365 days, it gets nulled and they can't do anything if they haven't submitted a permit.
Unless they have a building, unless they've already started it
Permit
and have a
process.
building permit.
Right, so it's not just sitting around.
I like
And,
it.
and
We
you're probably
also-
aware it comes up, like people sit on these for
Yep.
4 years and
Yep.
if there wasn't and the town ZBA has been great about adding that on every one, but this way they don't have to anymore. It's just part of the law.
And yeah, so not just also the use variances and the area variances,
Alma.
all of them.
Thank you.
We call it
See-
the Rod Simeone bill.
Seeing no one, I'll,
Hang on.
Oh, now that I said that, look who's coming up to dispute that.
Yeah, in favor of Dave Simeone, 121 King Street. If it matters, I'm on the Village Planning Commission. I'd just like to say I'm in favor of this. I think it's a really smart idea. We don't want, it's just a good idea to make it so people can't do things in perpetuity. You know, if you sit on something for 5-10 years, things can change in the village or in the town, and that could really change the scope of things. So in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I will close this public hearing at 7:35. Next on the agenda, could I have the approval of the March 13th, 2023 work session and meeting minutes?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, we have audience one, an opportunity for anyone to address the board on items on this agenda. Would anybody like to come up and speak to us? Nothing, Rod? See no one? We'll
Doesn't want to upset us before we vote on the Rod Simeone bill.
Is there anyone? No? Elizabeth? Okay.
No one online.
Next, we'll move to unfinished business.
This is roll call vote.
Okay. Can I have a motion to amend the local law 1-1990, known as the codes of the town of Aurora, adopted by the town board of the town of Aurora on January 22nd, 1990, by amending chapter 116, article 9, section 116-91, powers and duties. Be it enacted by the town board of the town of Aurora as follows. This local law amends local law known as the Town of Aurora Code, adopted by the Town of Aurora. Didn't I just say all this? But amended relating to the administrative, legislative, and general legislation of codes within the Town of Aurora, as therefore set forth.
So moved.
Section 2, chapter 1.
I thought that was it. I was moved.
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
there's good parts coming.
Yeah, we have to read the whole thing. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Come on, gotta. No more quick meetings. Chapter 116, zoning article 9, Board of Appeals, section 116-91, powers and duties, is amended by adding the following paragraph. Any variance or special use permit granted by the zoning board of appeals or by a court of competent jurisdiction pursuant to the provisions of this chapter shall become null, void, and no further force of effect unless a building permit, if required, is issued or use granted, commences within 365 days of the date of the decision of the zoning board of appeals or a final court decision. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the New York Secretary of State. And this is a roll call vote.
So I'll move to that.
Yeah, can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Luke?
Second.
Second by Joe. All in favor? Aye. Oh, Jesus. Now you got me else. Okay.
I,
Councilman Granville,
Favor roll call vote.
Yeah,
Councilman Granville,
Randall,
Aye.
Councilman McKeon,
Aye.
Councilman Snyder.
aye. We good?
Good.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the 365 Quaker. So can I have a motion to send the rezoning application for the property at 359 Quaker Road to the planning board for further review?
So moved.
Motion by Jim, second.
Second.
By Joe. Any discussion, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Next, under new business, we have the building permit fees.
And add
Yes, yeah, Chuck.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
$5.
Can I add that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Can I have a motion to add the late water payment fee, as discussed earlier, to the new business? And I
So moved.
motion by Joe, second by Jim. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. That will be 5F. All right. First item under new business is the building permit fees. Can I have a motion to? Is that you, Jim? No.
That's Samantha.
Can I have a motion to approve the addition of the fees as listed by the Town of Aurora fee schedule to cover the cost of time that it takes for required documentation by our building department?
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Can I have a second?
second.
Second by Luke. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can you do the second part? Also, changing the wording. Accepting.
Sure. And adding to that motion, in addition to considering the fee changes requested by the code enforcement officer Liz Cassidy, please consider adding or modifying the wording in blue on the fee schedule to clarify that additional fees may be charged. Want a motion on that? Can I have a motion
So moved.
to add that? Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jim. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the Floyd Albert payments. We want to do the separate, don't we? No? Okay, we'll do them all together. I'll read these. Please consider, well, can I have a motion to approve payment number 5 for Ford Albert in the amount of $19,456.51 for professional fees rendered from December 31st, 2022 to February 24th, 2023 for the Church Street Bridge Replacement Project. Funds will be dispersed from line H75120.210. And along with that, can I also request approval of payment number 3 to Floyd Albert in the amount of $10,158.08 for professional services rendered from October 1st to October 28th, 2022 for the East Fillmore Avenue Bridge projects. Those funds will be dispersed from H75120.210. And also, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment number 5 to Floyd Albert in the amount of $23,986.41 for professional services rendered from December 31st, 2022 to February 24th, 2023 for the East Fillmore Avenue Bridge project. Funds will be dispersed from H75120.210. And I have that motion.
So moved.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Lou. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the temporary use permit. Can I have a motion to approve the temporary use permit for the American Cancer Society to have a run on May 21st, 2023, with the stipulation of getting the indemnification?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Luke. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's see.
In there.
Next, we have private line, the private water line water fees. Can I have a motion to approve the billing of each private road water line individually, which will include the master meter charge, the town charge, and the water charge monthly, along with the repairs and maintenance fee separately? Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lou. Any comments or discussion?
Are they billed quarterly or annually?
Well, those numbers on there it will be billed quarterly.
We
Yeah.
do quarterly. Some
Yeah.
of the bills we get are monthly,
Yeah.
some are quarterly,
Thought I saw somewhere that they go on the annual tax bill or something, but yeah,
if they're not paid.
if they're not paid, that's weird. Yep. Okay, that was discussion, so.
Okay.
Before we vote, is there a I'm sorry if I'm confusing the issue. I don't mean to. Is there will be a separate motion for that $25 additional charge per resident?
I thought it was being added as that was going into a common fund. And the rest are going into the
Yeah.
individual line funds.
And is that something we need to vote on, or is that just
That's how I
administrative?
thought I heard it.
I didn't hear it in the.
It was
vote.
included in Chuck's motion.
Well,
I don't,
I will clarify that.
Yeah,
if
thanks.
you'd like.
If you said it, I apologize. I didn't hear it.
That's all right. Actually, I'll start over with the motion. Can I have a motion to bill each private road water line with the master meter charge, the town charge, the water usage, the monthly usage, with the R&M line being held in a separate line? Can I have that motion? Motion by
Yep.
Jim.
Does that satisfy your motion?
I think it does. Yeah. The $25 is on which line?
at the amount of
Separate.
$25.
Chuck, do you want to do it as two separate motions? Would that be easier?
I just, when you say
Sure.
there's a town
Sure.
fee, I'm not sure which fee that goes to.
That's a good idea. Let's do it the way.
Go and draw the motion.
You want me to negate all of those previous two motions, Martha?
Well, I think was I the one who motioned? I withdraw my motion, or who was that?
Joe.
Joe.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I withdraw my second before you withdraw your motion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Can I have a motion to bill each private road water line for the master meter, the town charges, and the water uses, with the repairs and maintenance being billed separately?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Joe.
Second.
Second by Luke. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Can I have a motion to approve putting the $25 repair and maintenance fee on a separate line item for each private road water line?
To be administered collectively?
It's going to be on a private line, a
Yeah.
private line in the budget I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a
I
separate
gotcha.
fund.
For the benefit of all private roads.
To be used as, okay, sure, to be used collectively when needed.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second,
second by Luke. Any more comments or discussion?
can we set a higher fee on like one road, like Gypsy Lane maybe, or
Oh, it's already gone.
not a good idea? No?
I don't think you want to do Gypsy, you want to do Hickory, maybe not Gypsy.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have a request from Chris. Can I have a motion to hire Alexis Andrews and Elizabeth Sanderson as a part-time as lifeguard RPT? Alexis will be primarily working with the East as a coach and a guard. She has experience as a swim coach, lifeguard, swim instructor, and teacher. Elizabeth will be helpful. Elizabeth will be helpful run after school East at the middle school pool, focusing on 2nd to 8th graders and teaching them swim basics. If approved, their first day would be the day they are able to sign papers, orientation, and I'd like to just note that both of these are non-residents. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, could I have a motion to approve adding a late fee schedule to be attached to our out-of-district water service customers' annual invoice, which is mailed in January and due the same date as the town and county tax bills? Currently, the town does not impose a late penalty for the Wales, Elma, Colden, and residents that receive a benefit from tapping into the water lines once owned by the town. However, a town resident who sees the same cost on their tax bill is charged a penalty starting with the first day past the due date. Town attorney Bridget Maloney has reviewed the out-of-district water agreements currently in place and believes, based on the language, the board can impose late penalties like those on the town and county water bills. Can I have a motion to add that as listed.
So moved.
Motion by Jim. Second by
Second, I don't know. why.
Lou.
I've been on every motion tonight.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Jeez. First time I've seen fatigue from being on every motion, my lord.
Motion fatigue.
Motion
It's
fatigue.
real.
Under communications, we have the building department from the February 2023 report. Next on the agenda is business from board members, and we'll start with Councilman McCann.
I attended the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser, trivia fundraiser. I only mentioned that because they had one question that was fantastic. There are 258 roads in the town of Aurora, including the village. Of all of those roads, only one starts with the letter A. Can anybody name it?
Yeah,
It stumped everybody at Wallen Wines that night. So good job, everybody. We had baseball. EA Baseball has graciously agreed to donate their 2 AED units to the town for use in the new bathrooms. It's proving to be a bit of a project, but we're going to work through it and figure out how to do it. There already is an AED at the pool, but that might have a different legal structure. So I'm working with Kathleen, and I've reached out to a bunch of folks to try and figure out it's more complex than one might think to add an AED. Yeah. And the guidance document is from 2009, and there doesn't seem to be anything newer. And I called the number, and there was somebody named Bob who asked me to leave a message. So it reassured me not at all, but I'm going to keep working on that. And finally, the long-awaited open space committee meeting with the residents from Hubbard Road is scheduled for tomorrow. We've had a good response to that to talk about what we want to do with that other side of Majors Park. We've gotten some emails already. We're meeting at 6:30 next door here. Just an opportunity for those who obviously anybody's invited to attend, but the folks on Hubbard have been notified to come out and have some input on what we have planned for that park, which is primarily a well-marked nature trail for the purposes of birding and things of that sort. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
And I have a question for Joe.
Okay,
And I'm happy to look into it. Do we know where we have AED machines within the town and village?
As of right now, we have one at the pool. I don't know. Does the village have any AEDs? Oh, Chris has something else to add.
We also have an AED down at Hampton Park during day camp.
But it's like just goes there every day and then comes back.
No, it'll stay down there.
Okay. So while then what is it? Just it's here when it's day camp isn't going on?
Yes, it's in my office.
Okay.
and we have one at the senior center.
And one at the senior center. So that's it's something to certainly look into as part of the process, especially since it's so much effort to get these 2 added to the bathrooms.
Right.
That and Supervisor Bach had commented on this before. It might be worthwhile to add one to this building as well. But we'll cross that bridge when we figure out what we need to do, because it's like I said, it's more complicated than it seems like it ought to be.
Thank you, Joe. Oh,
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Thank you, Councilman Randall. Supervisor Bach, do you have anything to add?
Oh, just one thing. I apologize for not being there tonight, but you might not want to believe this. But I did screw up on my flight plans. I was supposed to be back Sunday. I booked it from Buffalo to West Palm instead of West Palm to Buffalo. And to change that during spring break was quite expensive. So I called Chuck and said, "What's on the agenda?" Is it, can I wait till Tuesday? So I apologize for not being there. And I really did make a mistake. I didn't want to be down here in the sunshine any longer than I had to be.
Have you seen the weather reports up here? You may want to make another mistake.
The other thing is, Deputy Supervisor Chuck and myself will be meeting with the village for our second meeting Friday for the East Shore Police contract. And everything is looking pretty good. I don't want to go into contract information until it's resolved, but everything's looking pretty good. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Jim. Councilman Waschinsky.
Yeah, a couple things. The Cornell Climate Smart Stewards Program started last Saturday and will continue throughout the next, 10 or 12 weeks or something. But they had, I think, 7 people about by the time it was done. 7, yeah. Then the task force is working on a couple of things of importance in helping out with an Earth Day celebration at Hamlin Park. that would be followed by a slow roll if they're able to get the police to work to finalize a plan, and that works out from a safety perspective. And then our No Drive July initiative will be No Drive July in June, which we may want to find a better name for, but encouraging residents to walk and bike more with a series of prizes and things based on how much walking and biking you do throughout the month. So that won't be a no drive. It'll just be something encouraging more walking and biking. We are very close to bronze certification, but we need one more major item. And so one of the easier low hanging fruits is complete streets policy, which is non-binding. And for that, we may want to get our committee back together, take a look at it's non-binding. Dave took a look at a sample one, was okay with it. So it's just a policy that when we do build a new road or repair a road, we will consider the implications of walking and drainage. And I think a lot of stuff that Dave already does, we just have a policy that'll help us to get to that bronze level. So the West Falls Advisory Board, we're going to have to put together. Haven't been able to get in touch with Connor, so we'll maybe have to go without him. But we need to start working on the second round of funding for New York Forward, where we can invite the committee out to see us. I think that's going to come again this year very quickly. So it'll be announced, and then probably a month later we'll have to submit. So we really should start working on that no later than May. And I know that West Falls, the Blueberry Treehouse Farm and the Art Center are working on a joint project together, which one of the problems without receiving the funding is we were not far enough along. And so that is really going to help in this year's grant proposal. We also applied for federal funding to get internet to the remainder of the residents who do not have Spectrum internet in the town, applying through Congressman Langworthy's office. That all went in. And thank you to the residents there who quickly provided letters of recommendation. It's great. And then the last thing is that we do have a safety meeting tomorrow. So if anyone's interested to hear about that, we get the chiefs and we will have a safety meeting in this room that will be tomorrow evening. All right.
Good. Thank you. And I'll just add that I've been meeting with our architect and had several discussions with our contractor, Peyton Barlow, regarding the pool and the status of it and so on, and actually working with Mike Engelfinger. The National Field has promised that we'll have a gas line in 2 to 3 weeks that would be feeding the boiler. And at that point, we'll fire that up and make sure that that's all fine, because as you know, it's a brand new boiler. And as far as progress on the pool itself, we have faced the music and realized that the outdoor bathrooms are not going to be ready by the time that baseball starts. I spoke with a representative, Peyton Barlow, and they are working hard to solve the problems. It's between the cold and things in construction just aren't as smooth as they used to be. I understand it. He's bending over backwards and doing everything he can. He's offered to give us 2 porta potties when baseball starts, which I believe is going to be like the 20th or something like that. 24th? Oh, okay. He's offered that, and we'll just keep working on the rest of it and see where it goes. Next on the agenda is audience 2. If anybody has anything that they'd like to address the board about on any town concerns or topics. Mr. Simeon, step right up.
Rod Simeon, Byberry Court, East Aurora. Like to express my heartfelt thanks to the board, town council, town clerk, the code enforcement officer for your support and input in passing the sunset law. Good legislation. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll go to staff reports. Paul, anything you'd like to add? Okay. All right. Rod, I'm sure you're good. Tim, anything you'd like to say? Chris?
A bunch of different things here. East just finished up, its fall and winter season. I'll take this down. East just finished up its fall and winter season. We placed second at championships amongst the small teams. And we also sent 6 athletes down to St. Petersburg, Florida for junior nationals. Summer programs are going to be open for registration on April 3rd. We've been sending out newsletters weekly, trying to prepare all the residents and non-residents who sign up for our programs to update their accounts and just make sure they're signing up for the correct things. Summer employees are going to be coming across your desks here sometime in April. I am also going to be running a lifeguard course here on April on Saturdays just to get some more kids involved there. I'll also be still running the one in summer as well. We just finished up our 3rd round of swim lessons for the school season. And I've also been working with the school in terms of compliance on supervision to help them get through the Erie County process, I guess.
Thank you, Chris. Dave, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just an FYI, I met with the new president of youth baseball, Dan Mursky, today, and really good news. They're up to 218 East Aurora children have enrolled, so they're going upwards. So thought that was great. That's it.
Thank you. Rich?
The only update in regards to our department is obviously I reached out to the state with regards to the ICC certifications that I hold in regards to hoping to diminish some of the duration on the requirements for the basic training for the CEO certification. I'm awaiting on the response, but in the meantime, Paul is in the office helping us part-time as I started the training today, and I'll be doing that training every month pretty much for 4 days out of the week. So hopefully I get a good response and they take some of those certifications and then I don't have to take all the training. So.
Thank you, Rich. And we have Grace here from the village board. Is there anything you'd like to add? Okay. All right. Next is, can I have a motion to approve the abstract?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to move as long as Jim Granville is seconding, because I don't want this overburdened to be placed on Councilman McCann.
My back hurts.
Yeah. So I
Motion by
move.
Luke,
I love where I am right now. I don't feel I need to leave, but I will second it for the rest of you guys.
second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.